What do you do when you have that sore, scratchy throat? You have a cough maybe that goes with it, maybe some sinus stuff going on. There's a lot of products on the market, but I always go back to an old elderberry syrup recipe that I have. So I'm going to just show you step by step how I did it starting last night, because I started with dried elderberries. A lot of times I'll use fresh ones, and so it's a little bit different of getting the juice out of them. But this is my end product. And when you use it, there's a couple tricks. This is Sandy, suburban homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Welcome to Wyoming. These are my dried elderberries. You can use fresh and just take the juice out of them, but I'm using dry, so in my quart jars, I'm dumping boiling water on top of them. There's about a cup and a half in each jar of the berries. And then I put some lids on there. I'm going to let that steep all night long. I put a towel over top of it just so that it just slows that down a little bit. So let's talk about the ingredients that we're going to have. 4 tablespoons of rose hips. You could use petals. 4 tablespoons of, I'm using cat's claw bark, but you could use wild cherry bark. And then 4 tablespoons of echinacea root. The beautiful hibiscus flowers, 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of licorice root. 2 teaspoons of ginger root. And I'm using 3 cinnamon sticks because they're a little shorter. If you have longer ones, just 2 will be fine. And there is my recipe. I store it in the refrigerator, and it'll store 6 to 9 months. I have never canned it, so I think it might change it with that so much heat in there, so I don't do that. So here's the elderberry juice after it's sat all night. It is just beautiful color. So I am going to get a big bowl, and everything is going to get dumped in there, and we're just going to mix that all together. I am going to use a wooden spoon to mix it. I think you would be totally fine if you had a stainless steel spoon, but I just wouldn't suggest any kind of plastic at all. There goes the ginger, and my cinnamon sticks are last. Now remember, I started with dried elderberries instead of just straight 1 quart of juice. And so I'm going to dump in both of those jars, those quart jars in there, knowing that there'll be a lot of the water, the liquid, that will be absorbed into those dried roots. And so that's why I'm using that, because I could strain it right now and just pour in just the 1 quart of liquid, but I want to get every bit of goodness out of those berries. So I'm just going to dump those in there. I like the smell of elderberries. Some people don't like that, but it's very summery to me because I have elderberry bushes here and I really like it. And as I stir it, all the herbs are going to take on that beautiful purple color. It's just amazing that I could literally dye material with elderberry juice. So I almost have it all incorporated. I'm going to let this rest at least 3 hours. Now, could you let it rest overnight? You certainly could. It wouldn't hurt it at all. It's just going to take more goodness out of all the herbs. I put everything in a stock pot. I have it on a low heat. I do not want to boil it hard. I just want it to simmer. And I need a reduction of at least 1/4 of the liquid, if not half the liquid. And so I'm just going to watch that. I'll stir it every so often. And when I think it's about reduced to the right, I'm going to send it through a jelly bag. And my jelly bag is a stand, and I can just literally put it over a bowl or a pot, and I can just let all that juice run through there. And I'll use that wooden spoon and just get as much of the juice out as I can. Now, we're going to add honey. I'm adding 1 pint of local honey. Make sure you can get some raw honey from either a store, from a farmer's market, so it has all that goodness in there. Because all these ingredients are going to help you with that soothing throat. This whole combination is just a healing. And so I'm going to start to stir this. It is warm, but it's not hot. You want to make sure that you're cooling it down before you put that honey in. Now, I'm going to stir it around. As soon as I feel like it's all incorporated, then I'll add the vodka. You could use brandy. You're using at 15 to 20% of the reduced liquid. So I am going to put in about 3/4 of a cup of vodka and mix that all in there. And then it's ready to go into the jars. So I'm just using some of my little hexagon jars that I have. I bought them this summer at a garage sale. They had never been used. And I'll make some labels for those too so that I can give those to my girls. Well, at the beginning of the video, I told you there's a couple little secrets. I always recommend that you take 1 tablespoon, a whole tablespoon, and hold it under your tongue for as long as you can do it. It is faster getting into your bloodstream. Now remember, in this recipe, if there is anything that you're allergic to, you need to take that out of the recipe. But I've been really happy over the years with this elderberry syrup. It really suppresses coughs. It helps with a sore throat. It helps when you have a cold fever. It just has a lot of good stuff in there. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor. This is just my own experience. But I love using herbs, especially herbs if I can grow them. Now, one of the things I always add to my recipes is licorice root, and I've always had to buy that. But this year, we're going to Arizona soon, if the roads ever clear up. That's right. We're going to go down there for a little bit. And I'm actually going to plant some licorice plants. Now, a licorice plant is in the legume, but it is a perennial. And you do have to wait 3 to 4 years before you harvest the roots because you're actually using the roots. So until then, I have to still buy my licorice root. But what licorice root does, according to Chinese medicine, is that it enhances other herbs. So I always add that in. This is Sandy, Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. If you're looking for a recipe to try for a sore throat, elderberry syrup. Thank you. See you next time.